Hey, this is Peter Dankelson from Pete's Diary, and here are 3 practice tips to improve your guitar playing. Sweet. So here's tip number 1, and to me, I really do think it's the most important, but probably the most boring, and that is, of course, repetition. No matter what kind of lick it is, practicing the speed of it and just repeating it over and over and over until you're comfortable with it, and then you can kind of, jam along with the recording. But you just got to take the lick slow, build up the muscle memory, and just keep repeating it over and over. And yes, it does get boring, but the payoff is super important. You want to get sick of it, if that makes sense, because then that means it's really starting to get ingrained in your head. So, it could just be something like, I don't know, let's just say it could be a simple, you could just try and practice it slow. They can try and build up the speed. Depending on what the lick is. If you're trying to do something note for note, you want to try and get it that way. But if it's just a kind of lick or a pattern that you're learning to improvise with, you could start, you can kind of speed it up and keep going crazy with it if you want. It kind of depends on the situation of what you're learning and if that's what you should be doing. So tip number 2 is practice along with the recording or to a backing track. If you're jamming a certain song, pull up the original recording on YouTube or any other streaming platform that you might have. You could jam along with the original recording, or there's so many great backing tracks out there on YouTube that you can find and can jam over. There's some not so great ones. You might have to search a little bit, but when you do find a good one, you'll know. And then I guess if it's not a certain song, if it's a lick, a big thing that I use that really helps me out a ton when trying to do something new is playing along with it in a musical context. Because, okay, say you're jamming, a while ago when I was doing the modes, right? Trying to jam some modal stuff. You have I think it's called AOAN. I don't remember, but I know the sound and the scale, right? It's kind of a variation on the pentatonic, right? Or I guess that's the major scale. I don't know. It's that sound, that Santana, Gary Moore kind of sound, right? But I was fooling around with that, getting into that kind of style of playing. And so I'd search on YouTube, okay, what is this? An A kind of backing track, right? You jam around in that. And then it just gave you a lot of space. It had drums and bass and a rhythm guitar thing. And it just gave you the freedom to just kind of, for me at least, explore that scale and explore that sound, and kind of get used to jamming in that style and try some different licks out. So that's pretty much it. With that, I think a big thing too is it takes a little bit of discipline on your part as well. You really got to push yourself to jam in these different keys. And that's kind of a big thing too. There's different keys that you can kind of jam in. Once you get comfortable with one, you got to figure out how to move it around the neck as well. So that's another big thing. So just kind of jamming along with stuff in a musical context is really important. Because in my case too, I think of things in the context of a band. I'm a live player. I love getting in front of a crowd and jamming and improvising and stuff. So for me, that's kind of the big thing too with all of that as well. Tip 3 is study the artist. To kind of give you a bit of an example of what I mean, I'll just go off of Angus Young. Surprise, surprise. So like with my own playing, for example, look at the intro guitar solo that I did from the song Keep On Rockin'. If you know Angus's style, you know Angus has quite a bit of vibrato, some fast pentatonic runs. But the vibrato and the attitude, I think, is kind of the biggest thing that I've taken away from his playing. And I think, it's an obvious influence. You can hear it. But, as you kind of study more of these guitar players, you kind of understand a little bit more of their headspace. Kind of, you're not trying to be the artist, but there's always different takeaways that you can get. Like, let's see, who'd be a good example? Take Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? I think with Stevie, Stevie's got so many killer licks and so many incredible things. But I think one of the things a lot of guitar players, that we talk about with Stevie a lot is there's the Stevie lick. And if you haven't heard it, like say you're an A, right? It's it kind of starts off as the normal bend, right? But then he does that's just one of those, like, I guess, habits more than anything else that Stevie, didn't think about when he was playing. It was just, that's what he did, in any key with Texas, that's literally Texas Flood in G, right? So it's kind of funny, just some of those habits you could pick up. And it's not to like call anybody out, but it is kind of funny sometimes when you pick up on something. Like if somebody plays that, like you go, we got a Stevie fan right here. It's kind of funny when you do pick it up. But it's just what happens when you listen to artists that you love, whether it's the vibrato, the licks, all that crazy stuff. It's a lot of fun. So don't be too afraid of getting into their headspace, but see what you can combine with all these different artists and their habits. You never know what you could pick up. You could combine Stevie's lick with Angus's vibrato. What could happen with that? So there's all these different things that you can kind of mess around with. It just takes time to try and figure that out and piece it together. So those are 3 of my tips on how to become a better guitar player. Repetition, jamming along to the recording or to a backing track, and studying the artist. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope you got something out of this. And until next time, be kind and keep on rocking.